What's up, everybody? This is Rohit from Red, Black, and White, and I'm very excited to start posting videos again. I have a lot of different ideas that I'm going to be kind of going through over the course of the next few months. But right now, I want to talk about a show that I've been watching with Kim that I absolutely love, and I think is very well done. Right now, we're at the second season, about episode 10 maybe at it. So I'm going to be talking about the first season. And the way this video is going to be is the first bit of it is going to be very non-spoilery version of why I really like this show and this season. And then the rest of the video is going to be a bit more spoiler oriented, a bit more detailed as to what exactly I love about it, what stuff really stands out to me, and what did I love about the season. So it's kind of up to you. If you just want to get kind of a very small gist of it, I'll let you know when I'll start going to spoilers, okay? But overall, very, very well done show. So, Person of Interest is I would say, a drama thriller genre with real world elements of surveillance, of post 9/11, kind of the idea of what that did and how did that change how we live, right? But this show has a lot of things going for it that I think is a big, big strength. First of all, it has very interesting cast of characters. They are all intriguing. They all have great backstories. They all are compelling, and they have a very good growth over the course of the season that you don't usually see with shows like this. You really feel like they're changing, and it's for the better. So the first two characters to focus on is going to be the main protagonist, I would say. The other two characters are definitely integral and vital, but I would say really these two are the main protagonists who are kind of leading the story. So you have John Reese, who is this veteran. We don't really know too much of his past, but what we do know is that he is extremely skilled, probably was in some sort of special operations or CIA or something like that, and he has come back to New York City. That's where this story is set, and is keeping to himself, kind of off the radar, a drunk, probably has been through some things, and has no real path in life, no purpose. Then you have another character called Harold Finch, who is this billionaire with incredible skill set and technology that he utilized to build something, a system that gives him names or numbers, social security numbers of people who will be involved in a crime. But he doesn't necessarily have the skill set to help them, right? And this is where he recruits John Reese, and they both work together in solving, stopping these crimes from happening, right? And the thing is, the only thing they get is the social security number of this person, but they don't get the information of what's going to happen, how it's going to happen, whether they're the victim of this crime that was going to occur, or whether they're the perpetrator. They're the one who's going to commit the crime. No idea about that, and that's what they have to kind of figure out. So you have Reese kind of on the ground, and you have Finch as like the operator behind the computer. Aside from those two, you have a detective named Carter who meets John Reese first, and she's the one who is trying to catch him. And over the course of the season, she learns more and more about him, right? And then you have Fusco, who is this corrupt cop who initially is an enemy of John, but then gets kind of pulled into having to do what John wants him to do, which starts out a very interesting relationship that evolves over the course of the season. So you have these four characters, and it's really revolved around them, and obviously the person of interest of the week. And that's kind of where I will say the show is a little bit episodic. The first season, I definitely feel is the case, but I think it's still very well done. I still feel like every single episode, the person that they're focusing on is an interesting character, and the stuff that it encounters is very interesting too. There's some really great action scenes. There is some great music, some great pacing, and a lot of twists and turns that you don't really expect. So even for an episodic kind of every week there's a new guy that they have to focus on, it's still, I think, compelling and intriguing. And at the same time, you do get some very, very interesting bits and snippets of these characters' backstory, the main character's backstory, that kind of keeps you wanting more and learning more about them. And overall, I would say the first season follows the same kind of linear episodic storyline, but things start picking up the pace in certain moments, and definitely it ends off in a very, very great cliffhanger that got us excited to watch the next season immediately. So that should tell you that how well it's done. But yeah, this is kind of where I'm going to leave off the no one spoiler part of this video. So if you haven't checked this out, and if you like what I've talked about so far, of it kind of being this drama thriller, check it out, man. It's really well done. The characters are really interesting. It's funny at moments. It is kind of serious, but at the same time, it has a lot of heart and a great evolution over the course of the season. So check it out if you're interested, and comment down below what you like about the show, or if you already watched it. But please, no spoilers. Past season 1 at least. So now I'm going to go into a bit more details as to what I love about this season and this show. And I'm going to be kind of giving out some spoilers that gets revealed during the course of the season. So if you don't want that, just stop here and go watch. And, maybe later on you can come and watch this and see if you have the similar thoughts that I do about the show, which I think is really good. Okay, so we're going to go into spoilers now, all right? So the first thing, the characters. John Reese and Harold Finch. Their relationship is very, very fun to watch. It begins as a bit of this kind of a back and forth, do I trust him, do I not trust him kind of partnership, and they haven't gotten off to the best of starts, but they have the ideal of wanting to help people. They both have, so they're both good-hearted people. But beyond that, Reese is sneaking around trying to find out more about Finch, who basically has to remain anonymous because of what he built that he gave to the government. But something like that, very less people need to know about it, and probably that means that people are dying who do know about it. So he has to be reasonably hidden. He has to keep himself away from all of this. But at the same time, he can't help but want to help these people. Essentially these numbers, these social security numbers that he keeps getting. And so over the course of the season, you kind of get their relationship starts evolving, where Reese has had no purpose in life after he came back. He had a girl before, but then 9/11 happened, which caused him to go back into the military, and it seems like the relationship had ended, and whatever happened with the military, whatever happened with being an operative with CIA, it did not end well because there are people after him. So it shows that, he's been through a lot, and he feels super lost in the beginning. But Finch is the one who gave him purpose, which is to help these people out. And Finch at the same time is kind of lost too, because he has this knowledge, he has the funds, he has the resources, but he does not have the skill set to deal with all this. He doesn't have the capability or the mental fortitude to just kind of go up and talk to these people, to fight them if he has to. All that stuff he can't do. So it's like the perfect match, right? So you have these two characters, very interesting. Then you have Carter, who initially is the one who meets John in the beginning, and she's the one who runs his prints, where he's kind of wanted apparently in a lot of different countries. Makes sense due to his profession. And he escapes before she can bring him in for more questioning, and she over the course of the season is looking into him, where she starts seeing he's being called the man in suit. He's essentially making a difference in New York City because of the crimes that they're solving, and she becomes more and more interested, and she kind of has loyalty that she has to figure out where it goes to, because there are FBI and CIA people who are coming after him, but at the same time he's helped her many times. He even saves her life. So it's kind of one of those things where her loyalties are questioned, and she's trying to figure out which path to take, which I think is really well done. I think it makes her character very compelling, and you really want them to work together. Then you have Fusco, who is the corrupt cop who initially is going to kill Reese, but Reese stops him. But Reese finds out, because he's a CIA operative, he knows how to work assets, right? He knows how to work people that are going to give him information, that's going to give him a leg up against Carter, because Carter's constantly looking for him. So he needs somebody to be his eyes and ears in the police department. Fusco is the perfect one for that. Fusco is a loyal guy. He's a single dad. He had a divorce. He has a son that he cares about. He is a good person at heart. It's just he got involved in bad things. And so over the course of the season, you see him doing good by helping out Reese and Finch by saving these people. and you kind of start seeing that he really does want to do good. It's just his past is always there that he has to worry about. And so over the course of the season, you kind of also get to see that his growth and his change, which is very fun. It's really, really well done. So you have all of these four characters kind of in the beginning, not unsure, like kind of unsure of each other and not fully down to help each other out. But by the end of it, they really become a team, which we love, which me and Kim absolutely love that part. Now, what I really like about this show and this season specifically was that they brought in villains. They brought in threats beyond just the person of the week who the crime is being revolved around. They bring in these very dangerous threats that kind of focus on one of the main characters. And this kind of gives a very good plot lines, subplot lines, you could say, even to each of the characters. Sometimes I see in shows where you have really fun cast of characters, but the story is kind of only going for the main character, and it feels like the other characters is kind of running around, playing kind of second fiddle almost, and it just feels like they don't have much going on for them. So you just feel like, I kind of want a story for them. I want them to change and develop too, but sometimes it's kind of put aside for the sake of the main character. They don't do that here. They really have these dangerous kind of almost like arch enemies for each of the characters. So for John Reese, it's definitely the CIA, the FBI that's coming in. Seems like his previous handlers and things like that are coming after him. So he has to deal with that. And then you have Carter, who's dealing with this organized crime and this secret boss called Elias, which the episode he's introduced in, I think is really one of the highlighted episodes of the season. I think it's really well done. And he's this very smart, intellectual, but also very dangerous guy who wants to kind of take over New York City. So Elias is kind of the threat to the police department, to the threat to Carter, and eventually, of course, Reese and Finch. Then you have the HR department, which is essentially a branch in the police department that is full of corrupt cops underneath this shadowy figure. And Fusco is told to join them through Reese because Reese needs info. He needs info on everything that's going on. And so HR is kind of seeing Fusco as another corrupt cop that they brought into the fold, and they treat him really bad, but at the same time, it's all about them knowing bad things that you've been involved in so they can have something over you. So Fusco pretty much has to deal with that. And so he has this threat constantly looming from the HR. And then you have lastly this character called Root, who is this incredibly intelligent but dangerous hacker programmer who is kind of the opposite of Finch. And that is another threat now. That's for Finch to deal with. So you have each of these characters have a specific threat that they have to kind of deal with, and they can't do it by themselves. And that kind of showcases how their team gets built over the course of the season. So I really like that. I really like that each of the characters have something to do, something that matters, and something that they're dealing with. And all of these plot lines intermingle really well. So you have really interesting characters, you have really interesting villains, and then you have very great backstories that are kind of sprinkled in each of the episodes that makes you want to go to the next one. And it kind of shifts around. So you might have an episode of Finch's backstory, but then you might have something with Reese, then you might have something with Carter, and it's kind of a really nicely done bits of information that's kind of given to you to really get you connected more with the characters. And at the end of the day, it really shows it's all about them finding their purpose with what is going on and what they have built. That's pretty much the main of the first season without going into every single episode. That's kind of the gist of it. And overall, I think this show is really well done, also in the sense of not just, all the things I've detailed before, but also it really shows how it's like a thought experiment. It's like, how would something like a superhero or like a vigilante work in the real world? And I think, honestly, the person of interest is like a great representation of Batman existing in the real world. Because when you look at John Reese and Harold Finch, that's pretty much Bruce Wayne, Batman, and Alfred. Because you've got the weapons, the combat experience, the the tactical, awareness, all that stuff that Batman has, John Reese has because of his background. But then you have the funds and the resources from Finch, but also the all the gadgets that they use to kind of like hack into phones, and also the programming experience, the hacking experience that he has, as well as this machine that he builds, which I can very quickly talk about. It's essentially a machine that Finch builds to get relevant information of threats of crimes that someone will commit. The thing is, when he made it in regards to 9/11. It was based off of major planning that terrorist cells might be doing. And so that was a relevant list. It was essentially these big possible threats that might occur. But there's another list that gets built that the machine is constantly building, which is the irrelevant list. That's what he called it back then, which are essentially these crimes and these threats occurring, but they're on a much smaller scale and very individual oriented. And to Harold back then, he felt like, first of all, you don't have the resources to go after all of this, and it's not really why he built it. That's too much information in the hands of the government. So he made this system he made it essentially, I don't know how the wording goes. I guess like it cannot be messed with. It's essentially made it so that it kind of works on its own and it just gives you the numbers. But Finch has access to the irrelevant list, which are these individuals that might be involved in some sort of crime. So that machine is a great way to showcase how a vigilante or a superhero could make it to the crime before it occurs, because a lot of times that's kind of the trick, right? Like, how does Batman get there before it happens, And I think this is a really fun and interesting way of showcasing it in the real world. Like, if Batman was to exist, he would need a bunch of funds. He would need this system that pretty much tells him before a crime's going to happen. He needs all these skill sets that John Reese has, the tech skills that Finch has, the connections in the police station and everything that through Carter and Fusk. Like, it showcases how it could be possible in the real world. So I think that's very, very well done. And I think they've done a great job at making it like, this is how it will work, man. And it ends with a very, very fun cliffhanger that makes you interested more about how the machine works and how it might have been made. But that's going to be the second season. So you kind of get left at the cliffhanger, and it's so interesting that immediately we went to the next episode, which was the first episode of season 2. But yeah, very, very well done show. And let me see if I'm missing anything. I wrote some points down, but I'm like, I think I got everything. Yeah. So the characters are really fun. Music's great. Action scenes are great. A lot of intriguing storylines and just a fun time. I think this is a show that's kind of not been talked about that much, and I don't know why. Because to me, when I started watching it, I'm like, this is really, really good. So you guys should check it out if you haven't watched it, and let me know what you think. But yeah, that's that.